Good morning. It is 9:36 a.m. on Sunday, November 14th, 2021. I'm Christiana Ellison. This is the third time I've tried to record this morning. This is 5 more minutes. It's the third time I tried to record this because when I realized my audio, getting my own hair in my mouth, my audio settings had been acting funky, and I realized it's because, once again, and not for the first time, Windows decided to just randomly change one of my audio settings, um, very helpfully, doing it invisibly in the background without notifying me. Um, I love Windows so much. I like when it does things like that to helpfully um, tell me what it thinks my settings should be. And then assuming that they don't need to worry me with the knowledge of what's going on in the background. Anyway, it's fine. Yesterday we didn't play our session of Root the Role Playing Game because one of our players wasn't feeling well, which is perfectly ordinary. And I always tell my players in campaigns that, um, you know, everyone's, real life comes first, health especially. What we want is for everyone to be feeling good there and not for it to not be like pressure um, if you're not feeling it on a given day. And I think there are some cases where we might play anyway, even when a particular player can't make it. Excuse me, goodness. But in this instance, where the story had been left is that we had some really meaningful stuff coming for that character. So we decided not to play, and we were trying to think if we wanted to play something else instead. And the game that came to mind as something that I've been wanting to play is a game called Sleepaway by the game designer Jay Dragon, who also did Wanderhome, which I've definitely enjoyed. The thing is, though, that as I started getting ready, like rereading Sleepaway to run it, what I realized is that, well, it's not that I didn't know that it's a horror game. It's basically about counselors at a summer camp where there is a supernatural monster afoot. And the game is not every scene is about that, but it's there in the background and has to be dealt with eventually. And it's a really neat game. I heard it played on the One Shot podcast, and I think it's very cool, and I would love to run it someday. But what I realized is that, especially with games, like, first of all, horror, anything, is not everybody's preferred flavor of media, right? Like, I like horror, but I know not everybody does. And certainly I wasn't, going to try to pressure my players to play a game that they didn't want to play. But at the same time, I was, I was looking at it and I was just realizing, like, from the perspective of role-playing game safety tools, which I believe are important, I came to the conclusion that it was a game because, first of all, not only is it horror, but it's a horror game where specifically, like, although you could play it differently, as designed, it's a horror game where theoretically there's the potential for violence to animals or children, and that pushes a lot of people's buttons in ways that they just would not want to engage with the game. Like, and that's totally fair, right? Like, it, you play role-playing games to have fun, not to traumatize people, right? And so if you have someone who is just not going to ever be okay with a story where anything like that happens, well, then obviously that game is not for them, right? But I was just realizing that it's not even about whether or not the players were going to be okay with that, because, I mean, it's not there because if they weren't, we just wouldn't do it, period. But what I recognized is that running the game in the spur of the moment felt wrong for it. And it's a game that I still would want to play, but it seems more like a game that shouldn't be, well, we're frustrated because we didn't get to play the game we were going to play, and we want to play something, so let's play this, I guess. Right? It felt like it should be more of a, who would be interested in playing this game at some point. Whoever it is that would find that game interesting should join me at this time to play it, and not have a group of people who were collected to play a different game suddenly feeling like the choice is to play this game that might make them feel uncomfortable or nothing, right? So I decided to pull the ripcord myself and say, no, you know what, never mind. I want to run it sometime, but it should be something that everyone is enthusiastic to play and not just as like a spur of the moment backup. That said, looks like a really cool game to me if you are up for spooky horror stuff. Um, but so if you're watching this and you think, hey, I want to play that game, maybe we'll talk about it. But in the meantime, I'm going to leave it there, and I will talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.